So, any little errors here could end up adding up to, losing a lot of places and a lot of time. And also with the pit stops here, I imagine that the drivers are going to be losing a lot also in there as well. Now, we're going to get ready now. We're almost ready for lights out here on the grid. Lee Aberdeen and Gavin Petty. What are we going to see into turn one? And James Lamy also. Top three here. We could be in for some real action as we now wait for the lights. We've got one red light, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's lights out and away they go. The Formula 3 round 2. Oh, and that's Jerome Lamy with a fantastic start. It looks like he's going to get on the inside there on the right-hand side. Next to, is that Gavin Petty? And then Matt Lobs just dropping down a little bit there in the grid. Then we've got Lamy has now taken first place from Gavin Petty, and it looks like he's going to drop down there. Oh, is that Lamy that's gone off the track? We've possibly lost. We've lost one there on turn one, Carl. And then we've got all these guys down into the curves. Lamy was off there after that fantastic start that we just saw from Jerome Lamy. Unfortunately, throwing that away and lost it down 8th. Now we've also got Webb off, and then Granberg down in 20th looks to have gained a few places. Now Gavin Petty leading Matt Lucia. Lucia started further back in the grid and now seems to have claimed that second place, looking really strong there as we now got Milne coming in on the inside of him there through McLean's. Incredibly close racing here as they're going to be side by side now going into the straight down towards that final chicane. And now we've got car number 5 there, also Will Mason having a little look around. And we've got Milne there. He's held on to third place. He's kept that away from Mason, but he's also had to let Lucia go ahead into second and carry that pace and that fantastic pace advantage that he seems to have had into the start of the race. Now Milne staying incredibly close behind Lucia. Lucia possibly. Oh no, Lucia's still up the grid. It looks like we just had him glitch down for a minute there. So as we now go down into the curves again, Milne looking very comfortable behind Lucia, still following very closely. Mason not really giving him too much trouble at the minute. Plenty of space. And then Piers Berry, someone who we haven't talked about yet, in 5th place, looking like he's had a really strong start there also. So Carl, fantastic opening lap there. Who have we lost so far?
Well, I saw 5 people dive into the pit. So one of the favourites, Lee Aberdeen, he went in there. We've got James Cockram, Patrick Bennett, Duncan Roberts from Team Jeans Bowl, and Edmund Webb all dived in there. I've still showing us 3 people being in the pits. Now they do have a fast repair as well, but no way will they be able to take any fuel that takes them to the end of the track here, so they will have to pit again. It looks like the rest of the field has gotten relatively settled and calm, bunching back up together again. But those five racers, they've got a real mountain to climb now.
It looks like Piers Berry there in 6th at the minute behind Jerome Lamy. I think Jerome may have taken that position back from Piers. Jerome obviously lost a few off the start and now chasing hard behind Stuart Milne. We're now looking at Will Mason, Will Mason has got a fight on his hands here. He's got a position that he wants to take and a position that he wants to defend, Carl, and which is going to be the one that he succeeds with here is going to be the question. So Will Mason being followed very closely by Stuart Milne. Stuart Milne has been looking incredibly racy through this so far. Stuart didn't really take much advantage of the errors at the start necessarily, I don't believe. I think he may be up 2 places. We now just go on board with Jerome Lamy into turn 1. Jerome not looking to have a go here. It looks very much like Stuart and Will are going to be pushing each other quite hard here down into the curves as they go into Old Hairpin. Now Jerome Lamy here can just kind of pick up the pieces if these guys get into a scrap. It's going to be down to him to try and make up these places that he's lost at the start. 3rd place Jerome started, and we really want to see him push his way back to the front where he looked like he was going to be finding his comfort zone possibly after taking those couple of positions off the line. Fantastic start from Jerome. Just unfortunate about that accident, really. Hopefully we'll get a replay or a review of that at some point, just so we can understand what his start looked like and how he gained those places and then unfortunately lost them again. Now we'll go back there in a minute, but while we just watch these guys into the chicane here, going on board with just looking at Stuart Milne. Stuart's still putting up the chase here, Carl. 3/10 to Will Mason. Have you spotted anywhere where one of them's stronger? Oh, actually no, Jerome is looking for a move here possibly. Jerome incredibly close there, but it looks like he was just a little bit early on the brakes maybe than Milne was. Sorry, Carl, I was about to hand over to you there, and it looked like we were about to have a moment. Oh, we just had a car off track there as well.
That's quite all right, Nick. So at the moment, it looks like Will is holding his own, but he is losing time to second and first place. Defending well, it is difficult to overtake here. So I expect him to be able to hold on to that position.
It looks like when we just watched that clip of Jerome, he got a bit too hot into turn one, and he went way deeper than you want to be there, and then ended up on the grass. So it's a real shame for Jerome. But Jerome now on the inside of Stuart Milne, putting a challenge there to Stuart, really giving him the what for, saying, I want these positions back, get out the way. Here he goes, Jerome Mamie. Fantastic move there. Has he actually made it stick? Well, yes, he has. He's got the move done by the looks of it. Fantastic work there. And now we're on board with Stuart Milne, who's going to be chasing into turn one, seeing if he can take that back. But it looked to me, incredibly close there, right up behind him on the gearbox of Jerome Lamy, nearly taking a front wing away there. But it looked to me like Lamy was the faster car out of the two. But I didn't see if Stuart Milne actually possibly made an accident, or had an accident and made an error which gave Lamy that extra speed. Now we're going to go to Rowlands. Rowlands following closely behind Piers Berry. Now Piers we did see in some previous races. We've seen him in GT3. We've also seen him in F3, I believe. We've seen him in F3. I believe we've seen him in GT3. But as we now watch this battle going on, Piers was quite close up behind the front battle, but it looks like Chris Rowlands has been closing in on him. Only 2/10 now separating these guys. Hoping that we're going to see a move here, possibly. Yeah, he's going to go in on the inside. He's going to get braver, under braking Rowlands. Yep, and Piers is possibly just going to let that one happen. Piers just being very kind. This looks like John McLaughlin's also going to have a little go on Piers as well as they head down into turn one. It looks to me like Piers has probably just got the advantage there with the inside line as John just concedes that one. But John's going to be keen to get past Piers as soon as he can, because he's got Kieran Fishlock behind him trying to make some places, as we are going to switch over to John Dobson. John Dobson is chasing after Alistair Hay and then holding off the track behind him, I believe, Carl.
Yeah, it looked like he just lost a bit of traction there. But going back to the move with Rowlands, really good send up the inside there. Really compromised. It was Berry, wasn't it? Really compromised Berry's line there, which is why John McLaughlin nearly took that position. So great move and really fair racing by the two of them. Going down into that chicane, one of you has to yield, because 2 into 1 just doesn't go. So really good to see. Now
Piers still chasing after Chris. He's not let it go yet. 3/10 between them, and then 6 or more like 5/10 behind to John as well. So there's still potentially a 3-way battle, or even a 4-way battle, actually looking at it here, Carl, that could ensue between Chris, Piers, Jonathan and Kieran. They're all running at very similar lap times at the minute. The last laps being 1 minute ones from all of these guys, so all still very much in that range. Now at the front of the pack, we've still got Petty, Laubser and Mason making it the top through with Stuart Milne and Jerome Lamy. There is a little bit more of a gap there, possibly, I think, than there was earlier. But Will Mason, we're going to go to John McLaughlin now, because it looks like John McLaughlin getting a bit closer in behind Piers Berry. Now they're heading down here. Look at these guys trying to break that toe, trying to make sure that nobody gets that slipstream advantage if they can help it, making it as difficult as possible for the guys behind to try and gain any time. As we see now, Kieran Fishlock only 1/10 behind. He's going to go for a move here by the looks of it. It's John going to move there on the inside to try and defend it. He's done the job, but Kieran's still looking hungry. He's got a better line out of there, I'd say, Carl, as they now go down into the crane of curves. Now I don't think we're going to see a move here. It seems like a bit of a risque kind of place for these guys to be trying to overtake each other. As you say, there's only one line here through Old Hairpin, and that looks like we've got John off the track there, caught some grass. Has that cost him any time? I think that Kieran hasn't really been able to take advantage of that. There's actually half a second now from John to Kieran, as we now just go forward to look at Piers, who still having a bit of a battle here himself to try and defend a position. So Piers defending from John. And we've got an off track there. Looks like it's Granberg. So Granberg, who started from 25th, I believe, on the grid here, is currently up 6 positions. We're going to go back to the Milne fight now, because Milne and Lamy, this fight is not over. They've traded places again, and now only 3/10 separate them as they go through turn 1 into turn 2, down into the Craner curves. Where's he going to be able to make this move, Carl? And do you think he's going to be able to make it stick for the long term?
It really depends on how good an exit he gets out of Coppice. If he can drag down and take that inside line down to the chicanes, really, I think that's the only chance they've got. They're so similar on pace everywhere else on the circuit, and it is so difficult to overtake. As you can see, Will Mason here is maintaining that half-second gap, so it shows how easy it is to keep people behind you. I almost expect this train to continue until it's time for pit stops in, I don't know, 20 laps time. But we'll see if anyone's brave enough or makes a mistake that someone else can take advantage of and sneak up on the inside. But at the moment, I think they're going to hold position.
Well, if we've got this many close battles developing throughout the course, then maybe this is going to turn into a bit of a Skip Barber special F3 style, as we had all those various battles going on in one of the previous races that Tim and I covered. Now, just watching these guys coming through turn 2 and now down into those Craner curves again, incredibly close here. Stuart Milne right up behind Will Mason. You were just saying there was a half a second gap there, Carl, but it looks like Stuart Milne is really going to bring it to him here, and this is going to be Will Mason's time to shine. He's really got to defend hard here, or just really keep it real, keep it under control, and keep it relaxed as he tries to try and maybe build a gap away from Milne. Now, there's obviously a risk here that Milne's going to get backed up into Lamy if Mason is having problems. Now, Mason much slower than I think we've seen him earlier in the race. He's dropping a couple of tenths on his best time here, and here's the drag, here's the move. Milne going on the inside on the right there. Is he going to be able to get it done? It looks like Mason's going to give him the fight all the way to the end, but Lamy's coming up there behind on Milne, all of these guys back to front, tail to nose, and then it looks like Milne's gone for the outside line there as Mason moves into the middle to defend, and Lamy's having to back off a little bit there, just waiting for these guys possibly to fight it out. There wasn't really any room for Lamy to get involved there. Now, Jerome keeping an eye here, keeping it on the inside as Stuart Milne goes round on the outside there of Will Mason. Incredibly close here, and this is the way you said they can't do a move, and he's backed off. He's made the sensible choice there. He's been the better man and left it alone. He's let him go. Will Mason has managed to hold on to that position as we see Stuart Milne just going a little bit wide on the grass. Lamy still not able to take advantage of the fight that's going on here as they go up now into McLean's. Very, very tight.
Mason looks to have gone off there. I think he's the pressure got to him. I don't know if he's just run off wide. What was that, round Coppice?
We've got Lamy on the inside here. We've got Lamy on the inside. We've got to go through a replay of Mason here, and it looks like, well, we on the replay for me, Carl, it looked like we had a connection problem possibly with Will, a bit of a blip. I don't know if you saw the same thing, but he was then very much on the outside. And on the grass. I don't know if you saw something similar to what I did there.
I did. It looks like it blinked. I don't know if it meant that he couldn't put an input in, but he was running really well, defending well, and then all of a sudden he was off track, disappeared, and then into the barrier. What a shame for Mason.
That is a shame. Now, Mason had it looked like he was having to defend really hard. Milne was really, really putting the pressure on. Now, when we switched to that replay of Mason, we did unfortunately just miss a clip there of Lamy. But we're just going to go to Fishlock. It looks like Kieran Fishlock has managed to get past John McLaughlin there, but they're running side by side here as they go down now into that final chicane. And who's going to be braver here? It looks like McLaughlin a little bit deep on the brakes. He's gone over that curb there. He's got really unsettled the car. Is that going to be the sort of thing that's going to cause some damage there on car number 7 for John McLaughlin, or is that he's going to get away with that?
You really don't want to run on the curb, so I think he'll probably get away with it, but it really unsettles the car. They're massive curbs. As you saw, it bounces him off. I think he got quite lucky there. It cost him a little bit of time. But I'm having a look up. We can see Lamy's managed to sneak into third place there. And now he's chasing Lauscher and Petty. It'd be interesting to see if he can close that gap there, because he's definitely got, or seems to have, more pace than Milne at the moment, who seemed the faster of the three at that time. But now Lamy's been set free. He's really building a gap between him and Milne.
Yeah, I was just looking at the times. Aberdeen pushing quite hard at the minute, and it looks like Loopsha actually just got past Petty by the looks of it. Petty possibly dropping down the order here on one screen. Oh no, not on my other timing screen. Sorry, he looks like he's okay actually. That's just one of those latency things for a moment there. But yeah, as you said, Lamy looking incredibly fighty here. Lamy was actually one of the guys that was setting the sub 1 minute times, Carl, whereas Stuart Milne appears to have been just still sitting in the 1 minute, not quite managing to get into that magic zone like Jerome has been. So we're now with Joe Turner McMullen. Joe is following Josh Wilson at the moment. He's also got Alistair Hay behind him by half a second. Alistair Hay looking like actually the faster car out of the two. Again, Alistair Hay, one of our guys that has set a sub 1 minute time on the board, and it looks like Joe is possibly going to be under quite some threat from Alistair maybe in the next lap or so, as they now go into that Starkey Straight before they get into the final chicane. What do you think here, Joe McMullen? Do you think he's going to have to just possibly give this one up to Alistair? It looks like he's got the pace and closing quite comfortably. Doesn't really seem like a fight that McMullen wants to get into. Do you think, Carl?
I think it's probably easier. I think Hay will make it past. As you said, there's about a good second a lap pace difference. But I wouldn't want to give up a place too easily. As I said, it is difficult to overtake here. They've still got, probably 15 laps or so until they pit. So do I think he'll be able to hold on to the position? No, I don't. But, why make it easy?
Absolutely. You don't just give away points, do we, in this game? So, no, absolutely. We want to see Joe fighting Alistair for that position. But let's see how much of a fight he's able to put up, as Alistair looking like he's really managed to close that gap there through Coppice as they now head down into the Starkey Straight. Yeah, he's got there on the inside, ready to make a move on the right. He's going to be very, very late in there, nice and tidy over those curbs, not taking any air, not unsettling the car, and then Joe just kind of letting that one go for the moment. As he just moves to the outside, it just looked like he's thinking about a return move, but I don't think that Alistair's really interested in letting it happen. So Josh Wilson, the next target for Alistair Hay. Alistair, I believe, down 6 positions, possibly, based on what I'm seeing on my screen. We're going to go and have a look, though, at Patrick Bennett, who has gone off track. So we've got a replay for you here, Carl. Just waiting for it to show up on my screen.
Yeah, a bit of a snap over there. It's difficult to see what corner that was on there, but regardless, what's happened there is he's gone on the power, but the rear wheels have lit up. It's spun. He's gone to correct, and it's just gripped, and it's spearheaded him straight out into the grass and into the barrier. As you can see, he lost 2 wheels there, so a lot of damage, and into the pits.
Oh, I've just seen another car off track there. That's Granberg, I believe, again, that we've just seen going off, and that's possibly the second time that I've actually seen Granberg lose it on Coppice there, I believe it was. So we're currently looking at Ben Cullen, car number 16, running in P15. I believe the last time I said that, it was car number 16 in P16 down at Montreal last time we were watching Ben as he made his way up the grid. Ben had a really great race last time. He gained quite a few places. Now we're seeing Wilson in a fight now with Hay. Hay, we said, wasn't going to be far behind Wilson. It looks like he's really managed to make up the pace there. Wilson looking like the slower of the 2 cars here by about a second possibly. Just as we said about Joe, but much preferably we'd like to see a real strong fight here from Josh, really trying to give Alistair a run for his money, hopefully. Alistair looking to make his way back up to a point in the grid where I think possibly he's more familiar with being, given the times that he's been putting in. So let's see what happens now as they head down the pit straight into turn 1. Wilson losing a bit of time there. It looks like he's kept it nice and tidy there into turn 1, but Hay, I would say, had a bit of a tighter line there, possibly got the better drive out as they now head down into the Craner curves. It looks like Hay's incredibly close to that rear wing of Josh Wilson. Is he going to be able to hold on to it? Is he going to be able to take the pressure? Oh, it looks like he's got a great exit out of there, Hay. And now going side by side as they go into McLean's. This does not feel like the kind of place that you want to be making a move, Carl. Oh, and he's got it done though, nice and tidy. Josh Wilson giving him plenty of room there. No contact, but that has opened the door, I think, a little bit for Joe McMullen to now come in behind Josh Wilson. Only 2 tenths separating these guys. Is Josh Wilson going to have to give up another place here after suffering that fight with Alistair Hay, which he obviously hasn't come out very well off the back of that. Real shame there for Josh. I mean, nobody likes to give up a place to to a faster driver. It just seems like the sensible thing to do sometimes, but it hurts even more when then that lets the guy behind you then start to catch up a little bit. It looks to me like Josh is kind of holding on there and keeping the gap. As we're going to go now to Kieran Fishlock. Kieran Fishlock looks like he's defending from John McLaughlin here. We're actually going to go back to Lee Aberdeen here. Lee Aberdeen is right on the back of Joe McMullen. It looks like he's got the move done there into McLean's. Fantastic work there.
Aberdeen's on a real charge at the moment. So he was front runner, got really knocked back at the starts. Bad start, had a crash, went into the pits, came out P22. He's back up to P11, and I've been looking at the timing screens. He's the only person below the top 3 who's running in the sub minutes all the time, and he's on a real charge. I think it'll be exciting to see where he ends up. He's got a few more places to go yet.
Yes. Granberg, I believe, has had another accident. We're not. I don't believe we're going to go to that right now to look at it. But as you were saying there about Lee Aberdeen, Lee really closing up on the guys ahead of him now. Like Wilson ahead of him, only a 1/10 here now. McMullen was the car behind that was looking to challenge Wilson, but now Aberdeen looking incredibly fighty, even trying to push it around the outside. Then he's just tucked it in there and managed to get the move done. Not a problem there for Lee Aberdeen as he tries to make his way back up the field. Now only he appears to, I think it's lost 8 places in this race so far, Lee Aberdeen. He came in second in our last round of the Formula 3 at Montreal. So it's I'm guessing he's really hoping to make his way back up the grid and get as many of those points back as he can, so he can still be competitive against the likes of Mason and Lucia at the front.
Yeah, it was a copycat move of what he did with McMullen straight on the inside of McLean's. He saw a gap and he just chucked his keys in and took it on the up on the inside and pushes the other car wide, and they've got to be a bit more conservative so they don't run too far off track, and that just builds a bigger gap for him, ready to take Coppice at speed and charge down that straight towards the chicane.
So Coppice seems to be the point where we've seen a few incidents so far, and most of our overtaking manoeuvres seem to have either been off the back of mistakes by the drivers or very good runs into that chicane of Roberts before the start-finish straight. Now, the other place that we're seeing guys getting incredibly close, and it's almost a bit scary to watch, Carl, is as they go down Hollywood into the Crane of Curves. We watched Aberdeen and Hay both incredibly close to the back of the guys that were slower in front of them. Now, we're going to go to a lap here with Lee Aberdeen. Lee Aberdeen, one of the faster drivers, as Carl said, on the track that we've been watching throughout this race. So let's see what he can do here on a lap as we follow him round into turn 1. He's got a bit of a fight going on in front of him by the looks of it. That is there's a back marker there that he's got in front of him. Sorry, that's my mistake. So let's see if he's going to be let through. Granberg letting him through here as he goes to the curves. Now Aberdeen taking a slightly wider line there, probably just to allow for the fact that he's had that blue flagger in front of him. Now coming down here on the road up to the old hairpin, up to McLean's. What can he do here? Can he get a bit more time? The cars in front of him for the likes of Alistair Hay. So Alistair Hay was actually 2 seconds behind the previous lap. We're now looking at a gap of only 9 tenths, I believe, in front as they head down the final straight, Starkey straight, before they get into the chicane, where we've seen so much action so far, Carl. Now, as we watch him through here, he's incredibly tidy, not picking up any of that curve. And look at that exit that he's got there. Impressive manoeuvre. He's got round Hay, no problems at all. Oh, it looks like maybe Hay has possibly dropped down there. So Aberdeen, fantastic there. It looks like Hay's actually gone and taken his pit stop there. So Aberdeen,
he has,
not having to worry about him at all.
And I've seen Stuart Milnes dived in as well. So I'm wondering if this is the start of the window for the pit stops. A bit earlier than I was expecting, actually. So 60% fuel should take them roughly around to lap 30 with 15 left to go. It might be that people are getting coming up to back markers and deciding to dive in instead of having to follow those cars, and that's the risk they're taking. But I expect to see a real mix-up of the race now. People will come out in all different areas as they pit at different times. But also the pit exit here is right on turn 1. Really tricky exit. It might catch a few people out.
So yeah, I did notice that. So there's a bit of a heavy braking zone there, isn't there? And it's better to be as far over on the left-hand side as you head into turn 1 as possible. Now we are going to go to a replay of Duncan Roberts here as we watch him coming round Coppice by the looks of it. Coppice, yeah, quite wide there. Managed to get himself onto the grass, giving a bit of a trim for the groundskeepers at Donington, just as they head down. We're going to go to Foskett as well. It looks like he's had an error as well. Yeah, he's just spun it there, Carl. Is that in a similar position? Is that Coppice also? I didn't quite see where we started off from there. I think that was Coppice. Yeah. We're going to go over to McMullen now. McMullen, we've been following through various portions of this race. He's currently got Stuart Milne closing in on him. Stuart Milne, one of the guys that's already had the pit stop. Now, having to back off a little bit there under braking as they head into McLean's and round Coppice now. So as they're now into the Starkey Straight, Stuart Milne will be looking to just kind of get this done and get round him as soon as possible, I think. Because obviously, being one of the quicker drivers on the track, he doesn't want to lose too much time. Now, Lee Aberdeen is currently in the pit lane. Looks like he's dropping a couple of positions there, back down into 12th at the moment, as he's coming now possibly up to the pit exit, I believe. Now we're just going to follow Joe for a few more minutes or a few more seconds as we continue to watch this battle here. And look, we're now with Lee Aberdeen. Lee Aberdeen looking to head out of the pits. Where is he going to come out? Is he going to come out ahead of anybody? Incredibly close there. Was that I believe John Dobson possibly that he's got incredibly close to there coming out of the pits. Now he's very, very close to the cranny curves now. Putting up a defense there on the inside. Not necessarily the smart thing to do, but that's very close there. Not really somewhere you want to be overtaken, as you said earlier, Carl, but this Lee Aberdeen really, really keen to try and get past John here and start making some ground, trying to get back up to the point of the pack where he feels like he rightly should be, I guess. It looks like we've still got Gavin Petty and Matt Lubser out the front, but Chris Rowlands now comes into third, which means we've probably seen Jerome Lamey head into the pits. Possibly, I see him down there in P7. We're going to keep watching Lee Aberdeen in car 999 here, following John Dobson of car 4. Very, very little separates these guys as Lee goes to the inside there at turn 1 and says, "Thank you very much. I'll take that. Please let me go on my way. Thank you very much, John." Now, going back over to Stuart Milne, Carl, it looks like he's managed to make his way out of the pit safely and start to get round a few of the other guys that he's obviously been fighting with throughout this race. Ben Cullen behind him and Jerome Lamey ahead. Stuart Milne would be interested to see what he can do throughout this. Now, Ben Cullen, obviously, I don't believe we have seen pit yet. Ben is likely to drop further back down the grid. He's currently 11 places up on where he started, according to my screen. And now it looks like Dobson's just got back past Aberdeen, judging from the timing screen, which is interesting because Aberdeen was the stronger driver of the two. And Lee Aberdeen gone too wide on the outside there, caught the grass, and that slowed him down something proper. Really unfortunate for Lee, who was really looking to make up positions rather than giving them back to people. So we'll keep an eye on Lee later on in this race. Yeah, again, as we said,
it's really easy to lose it there on turn 1. If you just take a bit too much of the apex, it spits you out to the outside. Or if you're a bit too early on the throttle, again, it's very easy to run wide. I'm surprised not many more people have done it, actually, if I'm being honest.
We're now back with Alistair Hay. Alistair Hay looking to take a few positions back. I believe Alistair Hay has also had his pit stop now, Carl, given the position that we're seeing him in. Now, Alistair chasing close behind Josh Wilson, 2 tenths separating these guys, and then in front of them they've then got Aberdeen. Josh Wilson, I believe, has already been in a few fights here with Hay, and it looks like there's going to be an exchange of places here as Hay is going to come up really close here to the back of Wilson into turn 1. Let's see what he does. He moves to the inside here, Carl, looking really, really close. Oh, he's just about managed to squeeze it. Wilson giving him all the room he can, but it looks like they've had a fairly good exit, both of them here, as they head down into the crane of curves. Wilson possibly ahead there. Wilson staying ahead. It looks like possibly we've just had to give the position back there and just let it go. Wilson, fantastic defense from him against Hay. Hay just really trying to push his way in there, but Wilson saying, no, thank you. I've given away enough place in overtakes. I'm going to hold on to this one. You can fight for this one harder, Mr. Hay. So fantastic work there from Josh Wilson. It looks like Foskett's just got past James Cockram there as well, Carl, as into McLean's as well, I believe that was.
Yeah, interesting story about Cockram, actually. He was so excited and so nervous about the race that he actually had a pre-race nap. The only problem is he did it yesterday, and he thought the race was yesterday. And it doesn't look like he had one today because he was caught a bit napping there. So
really unfortunate for him, as it looks like Alistair Hay has now finally managed to get the job done on Wilson there, who had defended so valiantly through the last lap and really tried to claim his position there. But Wilson staying really close in behind Hay here, but we've also got Foskett behind, looking to close in now also on Wilson, a gap of only half a second. So it looks like Foskett's going to have to really try, every trick in the book here to get around Wilson, who looks to have just dropped back a little bit from Hay now. That's a shame. Now, Matt Lubscher, I think, is looking to pit very soon now. It looks like we had a few guys like Ben Cullen and McMullen are also in the pit at the minute, heading towards the pit exit, Carl. What is this about the right time for these stops to be happening?
Yeah, they'll be right low on fuel now, so I expect everyone to start diving into the pit lanes. As they may only have 1 lap or 2 left of fuel to go, so they'll jump in. It's a really quick pit stop, actually. I think across the timing screens I'm seeing about 27 seconds to do the splash and dash. No need for tyres here. They'll dive out onto that hard-court turn 1, as I said, where they've really got to keep an eye out for what they're doing, and it'll really mix up the pack again. So we're currently with Lubscher, still up there in P1, setting the pace at the minute by the looks of it. It looks like he's a little bit slower, possibly, than Gavin Petty on fastest lap pace. But at the moment, there's only about 1 second between these guys. So I think there might have been a bit of traffic for Matt Lubscher after that pit stop, possibly because he's lost time. It was about to say, oh, we're going to Cockram. Cockram off the track there. Cockram looking like he's gone way too wide there, caught the grass, and then managed to just get it back safely on the track. And who's he got here looking for a fight? Is that Sean Barnett? Sean Barnett, and also is that John Dobson trying to get around there as well? Who? Yeah, I don't think he had much choice there but to let those places go. So he went round Coppist, and what happened? You want to get on the power pretty early, but he's just got on a bit too early, and it's pushed him wide.
I think we've just also seen a replay of Sean Barnett, who's had a mistake as well into the last chicane and then lost his rear wing. That's unfortunate for Sean. As we now go back to Lubscher and Petty, because they're incredibly close now. That gap that Lubscher had earlier in the race completely gone. Only 4 tenths now to Petty behind. Let's see what happens here. Lamy not looking like a threat at the minute, 8 seconds behind these guys, so it's really down to Petty to put the pressure on Lubscher, who had a relatively comfortable win in the last race. 13 laps to go, bear in mind, on this race. There's plenty of time for these guys to fight it out. Lubscher might just feel like maybe coming out the pits and having that heavier fuel load, maybe he's not feeling in his prime, as we see. Oh, looks like Petty looking a little bit on the outside there, just getting a tyre on the dirt. That's lost him a little bit of time to Lubscher. The gap now only half a second, rather than the couple of attempts that it was a minute ago, as they head down into Craner Curves now. As we just said, Gavin Petty not quite in his prime there into the final chicane. There's a very careful segue into Amazon Prime and Twitch Prime. So don't forget to, if you've got that Twitch Prime subscription available to you, feel free to use it on the iRacing UK channel if you want to see even more quality content. Every follow and subscription that we get on the account really helps us produce these streams and bring it to you guys, the community that of our viewers that are always watching. Now, just looking through the Twitch chat, I'll see if there's any questions in there. There's a question from Tim Cox in there. Who do you think will win, Lubscher or Petty? Now, at the minute, to me, Tim, it's looking like Lubscher. There's 7/10 in it at the minute, and that was a gap that was previously down quite a lot lower. Lubscher had perhaps a few laps where he was struggling, but Petty gave it away in the end, and it looks like Lubscher's now managed to just eke out that gap a little bit ahead, and there's not as much to worry about from Petty behind. However, we still do have Jerome Lamey in third position. So if for any reason Lubscher and Petty get out of shape and maybe get a bit too close for comfort and have an accident, I'm sure Jerome Lamey and then people like Chris Rowlands also are going to be right up behind, looking to take advantage of anything that could possibly go wrong at the front, Carl.
Yeah, I think Lubscher's going to keep it myself. Petty's got the outright fastest lap between the two of them, but only by a tenth. I think Lubscher's running consistently quicker. It's a difficult track to overtake, and he is maintaining that half-second gap. Unless he makes a big mistake, I think he's gonna keep this for the last of the 10 minutes. With only 10 laps remaining, I think Petty will struggle, but we'll see what happens. Exciting.
Now we're going to go to a replay now of Ben Cullen, who I believe has had an accident, possibly further down the track. I think I'm possibly still on board with Gavin Petty at the minute on my screen. Here we go, Ben Cullen. He's just gotten a bit too fruity on the outside of turn one there, Carl, and then they lost it. It looks like he's been good enough to manage to get the car stopped there, to not get in anyone's way, and then rejoin safely. That's a shame for Ben Cullen. I believe in the last race we were quite flattering of Ben Cullen and the result that he'd managed to pull off. He'd gained quite a few positions in the last race. So we now go back to the Petty and Lubscher fight. Looks like Petty's managed to close up the gap again, but there has been some traffic ahead. So now only 3/10 between these guys. Fantastic angles that we're getting to see of these guys fighting into turn one. These cameras, we must to use these cameras to bring you the coverage of these races. Now we're back on board here. We're back with Gavin Petty from above, watching him. Sorry, not on board, but we're with Gavin Petty now, bringing the fight to Matt Lubscher. Really close behind. This gap getting even closer. Now we're on board with Gavin Petty as they go into McLean's. This is incredibly close racing, Carl. Do you think we're going to see a overtake here after Coppice? Who's going to get the better line? Who's going to get the better exit out of here? Nice and long here into the Starkey Straight. Let's see what happens here, Carl.
Yeah, so I think Petty had to hold back a little bit because he was too on the gearbox of Lubscher there. So I think actually if he held back a little bit before the corner, before the run into McLean's and then into Coppice, he probably would have had the drag down into the chicane, as it looks like he's got a bit more pace at that part of the track. And certainly we are seeing some people, I'm not seeing the lap times fall off as much as I'd expect, actually. So I suspect, where I said before, that there's no real straights, there's nowhere for the tyres to cool down. A lot of corners, it's pretty relentless around here, especially for 45 laps. I suspect maybe they are feeling it in the tyres. A little bit sketchy, so we might see a couple of slides or a couple of off tracks, maybe a slowdown or two that might change the order here.
Gavin Petty really pushing his luck there on the exit of the old hairpin, getting onto the grass a little bit. It didn't seem to affect him at all, but he's still really close in behind these guys. It looks like Lamey's managed to gain a little bit of time, around half a second. He was 9 seconds behind this pair as they now head down. Really close. There was a bit of a wiggle there from Gavin Petty's front end. Looks like he got maybe a little bit squiffy under braking, possibly behind Lubscher. And as we were just saying, Lamey now starting to pick up a little bit of time, but I don't think that with 7 race laps to go, less than a minute on most of these laps, he's really going to be able to make up the distance to these guys ahead. And
No, I mean his previous lap time was a 59.6, which was the quickest lap, of the race so far. But he's only 3/10 or so quicker than the guys in front. The gap is just too big for him to make up in the last 7 laps. I think he will be very content with third place. At the moment, he just needs to maintain that position. He's got a great gap behind him from Rowlands, so he's just got to sit pretty, stay there, and collect the podium.
We continue to watch the Petty and Lucia fight now at the minute. So these guys, so the current top 5 is Lucia, Petty, Lamy, Rowlands, and Milne. Milne having put up one hell of a fight and managed to make his way back up the grid after being a little bit further back after that pit stop. Rowlands looking really strong there in 4th, looking incredibly comfortable. Lamy, as we said, obviously Petty looks like he's actually dropped off a little bit here from Lucia. Now 9/10 between these guys. Whether he's given up or whether the tyres are dropping off for him, Carl, I'm not sure. Or did we miss something there, like an error possibly from Petty?
I think the gap is too short for there to have been an off track, because normally around here it's about 1.5 seconds if you get a time penalty, so I'd expect a much bigger gap. I think what's happened here is he's probably just lost a bit of traction, and it's cost a bit of time and a bit of toe. I think he'll probably bring it back. The toe is pretty good in the F3 down into that straight towards the chicane, so I expect it to Constantino back towards a half second. He's just going to struggle to make that leap over and go in front of Laubscher.
I'm just having a little bit of a look down the timing screen in a minute. It looks like we have got some other close battles going on. It looks like Cockram's closing in on Foskett possibly, but in 15th and 16th. The gap here. Gabardine also just made another place on Fishlock and set our fastest lap of the race with a 59.57. So that's, as we said, in the sub 1 minutes. These guys really pushing it. Aberdeen starting to try and bring those places back. Some of those that he obviously lost under error and under pit stop. He's now in 8th, so he's currently, I think, only having lost 7 positions now, technically. So this is going to be a good climb back for Lee Aberdeen, and really good to see him make his way back up the field as we now stay on board with, we stay with Matt Lubscher, still leading Gavin Petty. Gavin Petty now dropped back about a second now, Carl. So it looks like Petty's possibly given up here. And maybe just going to leave Lubscher to his devices to get on with it.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. As I said, I suspect that maybe the tyres might be coming off, and Lubscher's being able to manage it a bit better. Again, just looking at the timing screen, it looked, I was going to say it looked like Stuart Milne was having a really close interval, but that seems to have disappeared for some reason. But I can see there are some close battles. Josh Wilson really close to, I think it's Will Mason there, and James Cockram on Chris Foskett. So we've still got a lot of close racing this late in the day, which is great to see.
We're actually going to go to Gavin Petty. We've lost Gavin Petty off track here. There you go. Oh, Gavin Petty got too wide there into the old hairpin by the looks of it, Carl, and then he's lost it and pulled the car apart in the wall. That is really unfortunate for Petty, but as we said, that has allowed Lamy to take advantage of an accident having ahead, and that also puts Chris Rowlands in 3rd position now. So Chris Rowlands, a winner in this scenario, having a podium position, and Matt Lubscher now can just cruise ahead and not worry about the guys behind him with only 3 laps to go. Matt Lubscher,
how disappointing! How disappointing for Petty. He'll be gutted. He would have had to tow from there as well, so he'll end up right down in the pecking order. I could see Chris Rowlands. So he's obviously been promoted to 3rd place in the podium spots. Stuart Milne is only about a second behind, as we can see, and he will be hungry for that podium as well, as he lost out in the last race. So he's got 3 laps to do it. He's lapping a bit quicker. I think we might have a last lap battle between those two on who takes that final podium place as well.
We can't overlook this battle that we have here for 14th place between James Cockram and Chris Foskett. Now, James Cockram and Chris Foskett only separated by 0.8 of a second at the moment, looking incredibly racy into the final chicane, not really as close as some of the other fights that we have been watching further up the grid. We're going to go back to Rowlands now, who appears to have Milne closing in on him. As you said, the gap was only about a second a minute ago, and Milne was the guy that was closing in. He was the faster driver out of the two. Now, it's going to be down to Rowlands to hold this together for the last 2 laps. Do we think he can do it? The gap now 7/10 as they go around turn 1 into turn 2 before we head down into the Craner curves before Old Hairpin. Now, no lines here for overtaking. It's really just a case of Stuart Milne keeping it completely clinical and tidy. This is a last couple of laps stint that he's got to really charge on here and try and bring the fight to Chris Rowlands, and it looks like he's really going to be able to do it, Carl. 5/10, 6/10. This gap just keeps bouncing further and further down. Lucia is now on his last lap, but I don't really want to leave this this Milne and Rowlands fight if we can help it. We're going to stay here for a minute as the gap's still just 7/10. Heading down into the final chicane, the question will be, can Stuart Milne take advantage of that slipstream off of the back of the car of Rowlands, and can he get a bit later on the brakes, possibly into turn 1, and start to make some more more time up on Rowlands as they head into the last portion of this race?
Yeah, I think the short answer to that is no. I think if Milne had a few more laps, he would certainly get there. He's a bit quicker, a bit more pace, but at the moment he needs Rowlands to make a mistake in order to capitalise on that.
So I think we should probably head over to Lucia just for the final portion of this lap as we follow him now into the Starkey Straight, into that final chicane of Roberts. And we should say, as he goes across the line, congratulations to Matt Lubser, the winner for a second time in the Formula 3 season here at iRacing UK. Well done to Matt Lubser, P1, with Jerome Lamy then coming in P2. And then we're just going to wait now for the rest of the grid to start coming over the line. We're waiting for Chris Rowlands, Milne and Berry to now cross over and take that checkered flag. Rowlands takes 3rd position, Milne 4th. He closed that gap down to 6/10 in the end by the looks of it. And then Piers Berry, strong finish in P5, followed by John McLaughlin there and Lee Aberdeen. Fantastic race from Lee Aberdeen. He's really fought his corner, really put up one hell of a battle at various points in the race. We've had a great time watching him tonight, Carl. And fantastic racing there from all of the guys involved.